Welcome back to Geek News Now Live. It's the show where we talk about any number of different geeky things, but every Monday we get together and talk about the most recent episode of whatever has come out. And what's coming out right now is WandaVision. The latest episode's episode 6, so we're here to talk about it. Before we get started, I just want to say a quick thoughts and prayers. Our thoughts go out to the people who are suffering right now in the intense cold snap that they've probably some of them never seen anything like it before. And it's shutting down neighborhoods. It's making everything a mess. And a lot of our team is located in the Texas area. We're a Texas-based organization, so it's hitting them pretty hard right now. So keeping them in our thoughts. We're going to try and have a great show, especially for them. And especially for us, because it's fun. But we're keeping them in our thoughts. And let's get introduced to this wonderful team, starting with our guests today. Right below me, special guest, my brother, Kevin. Oh, we have a guest brother on this episode? Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
You didn't plan that at all, did you?
Actually, not really, but it worked out really well.
It works out, yeah. And I'm from somewhere far away. I'm not in Texas, not on the East Coast with Chris. I'm over in San Francisco Bay Area, where it is a chilly 54 degrees. So we're bundling up over here too.
Just the right amount of sarcasm on that. Right after I said, let's keep them in their thoughts, you're like, it's great here. Anyway, we're glad to have him here. And next, Debbie.
I'm Debbie. I'm with the GNN social media team. We share content from our writers on Facebook, Instagram. We have memes and other stuff that we share. We have Twitch and Twitter, and we have a bunch of other podcasts outside of this one. So be sure you check them all out and share, like, and subscribe.
Absolutely. David?
Oh, my name's David. I'm the director of the Literary Legion for Geek News Now. All the wonderful articles and web content that you see comes from my group of people, and we've got a heck of a group of people, and they're cranking out articles like you wouldn't believe and just doing amazing work.
And for those
That's at geeknewsnow.net.
Yes, geeknewsnow.net. That's what I was going to say. That's where you can find all of those articles, all different kinds of stuff over there. If you've only seen the YouTube page, if you've only seen the Facebook page, I highly recommend going to geeknewsnow.net. Speaking of geeknewsnow.net, there's one person left to introduce who's also a part of the team, and that's Devin.
Yes.
How you doing, Devin?
Hey, good to see you guys. I'm Devin from the Literary Legion. I am one of the article writers, and now have a weekly article, Dungeon Crawl, coming out, a how-to of Dungeons & Dragons. It's going to be coming out every Saturday until I get bored with writing it, and I've got tons of content. But there's all kinds of amazing content and contests and awesome stuff happening over at Geek News Now on Facebook, and just tons of stuff. If you don't know about it, you're missing out.
That's right. And in the description of today's episode, you'll actually see a way to specially enter one of our contests that we just started. It's a Marvel giveaway with over $250 worth of stuff. And all you have to do, there's like 6 different ways to enter. All you have to do is follow the link that's included in the description to check that out. I recommend you do so because it's free stuff, and that's good. We all enjoy that. Anyway, all of that being accomplished, let's talk about this episode. Wow, tons to talk about, really. So I'm just going to say, let's start off with the sitcom that they went with this time, because I thought it was great.
Malcolm in the Middle.
Yep.
Malcolm in the Middle, which is a great for a couple reasons. A, the nostalgia factor. I used to watch that a bunch when I was a kid. B, again, the nostalgia factor, growing up during like that same time period, recognizing like the video camera technology and just like that kind of thing in the credits. And they really did a great job with those opening credits. That was great to see. And also just the fact that it was based off Malcolm in the Middle, which is a show where Frankie Muniz's character breaks the fourth wall to talk to the audience. We actually got to see one of the twins doing that, or both of them really, talking to the audience. So that was kind of, and that, so that not only gave them more like agency and like made them like fuller real characters, but they were also like, That's kind of crazy. I don't know. No one. I don't think they've ever.
They also
done that
did
kind of thing
the
before.
Malcolm and Reese thing, where the one is trying to tell you what's going on and be a good kid, and the other one's like, no, it's about candy and mischief.
Yes.
Completely opposite. Yeah.
Which is also a great way to show off their personalities.
Honestly, I'm kind of surprised at the Malcolm in the Middle one. I honestly, being that it was the Halloween episode, Roseanne always had the big Halloween episodes every season with hers. And yeah, she was late 80s, but she was very much in the 90s as well. I'm kind of surprised they didn't take the route and go with the Roseanne.
I kind of saw the last episode as more of the Roseanne because there was a lot more conflict in the kitchen area and the way the kitchen was framed with where the sink, the island, and where the entryway back into the house was. It was like a wider version of the Roseanne set. So I kind of saw the last one being a little more of the homage to Roseanne.
And the end credits of the last one, too.
Yeah. But yeah, this was, oh man, there's so much to unpack here. But yeah, and I never watched Malcolm in the Middle. That wasn't I don't know if it was a generation my age, not into my thing kind of a thing. But I mean, even I, not even being aware of it, recognized it's one of those just classic things. You just recognize, you know, it exists, even if you've never watched the show. You know that's there.
Exactly. It's kind of like a staple of, you know, it ran for a very long time. Some of the people in it, like Frankie Muniz, was kind of a teen star for a little while, and because of that show, a star. Obviously, the dad Bryan Cranston went on to do like Breaking Bad and everything, so everyone knows about him now, certainly. So it's definitely a show that had a big impact, I think, on a lot of people. And you know, even if you didn't watch it, you get it. Just like Pietro showing up, for example, that's just kind of a sitcom genre staple. Like, oh, the brother or the, you know, this figure who comes in to kind of disrupt things or spice things up or kind of shake things up.
This started feeling so familiar because this is like when I started watching TV and all these sitcoms and everything. So Malcolm in the Middle and some of this sitcom style and this camera work, that I kind of forgot that it was this show that's doing a parody or something. And I was like, oh, this is just, you know, the way that I'm used to stories being told.
And like the character coming down the stairs to present themselves, just very much, yeah. You don't even think, but that like breaking the fourth wall thing wasn't really done a lot even before that show. But then it just became something that all different kinds of shows started doing, like medical drama, Scrubs. You know, it became a thing to parody even. But also something really cool about Pietro showing up, and I just noticed this. I rewatched the episode. When the twins start talking to the camera at one time while he's there, he starts looking at them funny. And so I'm just like, he's aware that they're doing that too. Like, so there's this crazy question of like, who really is he? Is he Pietro, either from X-Men or just some other thing? Or is, some people are saying he's Mephisto, he's Nightmare, he's some villain, or maybe it's a combination of those things and someone's using some version of it. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Debbie, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I haven't figured him out yet. I'm still going with, you know, he's just going to be Pietro and that's that. But yeah, Marvel's doing a really good job at keeping us guessing. There's a lot of things that, I mean, here we are, episode 6. We only got 4 more episodes to go, and there's still a lot of guessing work going on.
Oh, sure. I mean, there's things that they've been hinting at for episodes that we know are coming into play, like the astrophysicists or whatever that Agent Wu and Darcy was going to meet them, but now she's in the thing too. I mean, like, again, so much happened in this episode, but Wu and Monica are going to see, yeah, this guy that they will not say his name. So that's how you know it's got to be somebody big. Like, it's got to be, or else it's a wasted build-up, because it is a build-up. Everyone's wondering who this guy is. They've got theories. Oh, it's going to be the first time we see John Krasinski as Fantastic Four, Mr. Amazing, Mr. Incredible, Reed Richards. Mr.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was the way they were going, but in one of the earlier episodes, I think it was Hayward, he was talking about they had a group in space.
And
they
that's what
were
I was
lost.
thinking. Yeah, I was like,
So if
Yeah.
it's Fantastic Four, then I don't think it's Reed. I've heard some wild speculations, like it's the Beast. I've heard.
yeah, I saw that.
I've heard Blue Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's still a lot of guesswork going on.
Exactly. Like you can't say it's we know because we don't know. I can't wait to see what they're gonna do. It's definitely something that's probably gonna be another one of those teases of the bigger reality, or like things change, or like some that now that they own Fox and stuff, this changing universe that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to go with this, okay, so if we're going to say this is actually Quicksilver, let's entertain that theory for a moment. I picked up on this. During a memory sequence, she only remembers in Age of Ultron, she only remembers the stray bullet that Quicksilver catches in the arm, okay? She isn't there when he gets shot at all, when he saves Hawkeye. Okay, so she never actually saw what went down. Take that to this episode. Quicksilver's response to what happened to him, shot like a chump in the street for no reason at all. Memory distortion. If Quicksilver is the same, because we also had the same thing that we saw with Vision, where she saw Vision as dead. We see Quicksilver for that crazy Halloween appropriate scene of Quicksilver being dead. Okay. Props to the makeup team. Holy crap.
Yeah, that was great. I like that part.
And they're really good at just throwing that at you with no warning whatsoever. It's either an alternate timeline version of how he dies, or if she's created this, she doesn't actually know what went down that caused him to get shot. So her reality of him dying is he took a whole bunch of bullets in the street for no reason at all. Not that he died saving Hawkeye and a kid.
And that's the thing, is we still don't know who this Quicksilver is. If it's just her brother wearing a different face, if it's another character entirely.
And he kind of deflected when she confronted him about this stuff. None of his answers were really anything where's your accent? Where's yours? Which is a good question, but it doesn't answer her question.
But something too, though, that I noticed about this, he wasn't really deflecting the question. I think he was more trying to help Wanda realize, hey, this is happening, and you need to admit it. You need to say it out loud so that you understand. I know what happened, but you need to figure out what happened.
Well, it doesn't help us. I'm the one who doesn't know what's going on.
That's true. And she said in earlier episodes she didn't know how it started. She says in this episode she doesn't he knows about stuff possibly more than he's asking her questions like, what'd you do with the kids? Where were these kids this whole time? And then he even goes on to say, it's like, well, it's probably in their beds, right? That's probably the best way to handle this ethical dilemma you found yourself in, is to just keep them out of the torture of, being mind wiped and everything as much as possible. But then she has to confront that stuff. And so that's another part of the thing, is he's aware of this stuff, but how does he know?
Yeah.
Why would he have more control or less control than other people? Like Vision is a certain way, but why him? Especially if he's literally just something that she brought back. Wouldn't she have way more control over it? But then again, so is Vision something that she brought back. Or is she the one doing it? That's another thing that they brought up in this episode. When Hayward's like, we just got to kill her. Da, 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 da. And Monica's like, we don't know that'll solve anything. We have no idea what that will do.
Well, I think we all grossly underestimated her power there at the end. So clearly she has way more going on with this than anybody realized, because of the way she expanded the hex and what took over. I thought it was interesting that Agnes.
Wanted to talk about that. Good. Bring it up. Go ahead.
Well, okay. This whole time we've been saying she's Agatha.
Something.
She's the witch. She was dressed as a witch for the pieces line up. She's the missing person. She's the missing person that this has all started over. She was the person they were keeping their eye on. Okay. But all of this happens. She gets into town and she's sucked into the hex like everyone else. I think she's just one of two things. She's either just as much a victim as everyone else that's there, but I think she's the original missing person that this all started with, or she's playing stupid. But Vision's ability to unlock the subconscious brain, I mean, she genuinely seemed to genuinely not recognize that he was dead. Why is he there? But she is from outside of Westview and knows what happens and knows he died and knows who he is and knows who the Avengers are. So she clearly has an idea of who everything is. The person that scares me in all of this is Herb. He's the one that bothers me the most. At first it was Agnes. Herb is aware because he asks her, do you want something changed?
Yeah.
He seems to be almost more aware than anyone.
Well, he was also saying stuff. Speaking of this, that doesn't really explain why he was chainsawing through a hedge in the other episode. So we'll hold on to that for just a second. Like, why was that? And that was while he was talking to Agatha. So maybe there's something more going on, at least between them. But Herb, yeah, he was the one who was on, Neighborhood Watch this episode. And so Wanda asked him how things are going. During that conversation, someone starts talking to him over the earpiece and reporting the things that Pietro is doing in super speed.
Which I love that because they use the trope of like where a person is on the phone. What's that? A thing the audience needs to hear? Really? Another thing the audience needs to hear? There's no one on the other side of this phone.
Yeah,
I just love that's one of my favorite things. So.
And but he's saying the things that are happening before they're actually happening. It's almost like they're happening in response to what he's saying. What's that? The pumpkins are all smashed. The pumpkins all get smashed, and everyone's covered in silly string. Then everyone gets covered in silly string. I think it's very interesting how that series of events happened.
It's like he's directing the episode, telling everybody where to go, what to do.
And then he's like,
episode, if you will.
Is everything all right? Do anything change? And if you think about how the show started, that would have been something that would have really alarmed her. And I'm not saying it doesn't now, but she's really trying to make it work. And again, that's the thing that's great about these theme songs. The theme song for this one was just like, make it work, keep on to, like, who knows how far we'll go, and who knows who's going to show up to play. And it's just like, oh my gosh, we don't know what's happening. And she doesn't. And a lot of this episode was, again, trying to push her to figure that out and kind of take control. Now, I would wonder, again, if she's not the one at the base pulling the strings, like at the core of this, there's somebody else manipulating her possibly. Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing that she just used her powers? Because in a lot of these situations, that's just like usually makes things worse. Like she'll fall deeper under the.
It's usually we need you to use your powers as much as we can so that we can draw off of them. And
I was really suspicious of that.
Yeah.
That's a good
so it's
point.
almost like he's whoever's pulling the strings is almost like pushing her into this. You need to more and more use your powers so that we can draw off of what you're using. Mm-hmm. And being she was made of the Mind Stone. I mean, it could be something that would like to. I mean, you still deal with Infinity Stones. I mean, you could still have that option. And that brings up a good question about when Vision was leaving. We'd seen, if you've watched the previews for the episodes and the commercials and stuff like that, there's one where he just comes out and falls over dead. I thought that's what was going to happen. That's not what happened at all. He was struggling for a good while. He said, save the people inside. But then he kind of started breaking apart and disintegrating. Now he is made from like vibranium and partially, I mean, I don't know how much of him is made up for this fake reality, but you did see pieces of him getting sucked back towards. What do you think that's about?
It was like that same effect as the Power Stone in Guardians of the Galaxy.
where you start,
Wasn't
yeah,
it? Where they're like disintegrating.
yes,
I don't know if that's significant or just they could, reuse the effect.
it's a good
Is
effect.
it?
It's a TV show.
He's getting dusted. Ooh, but
They already have the rights, and it's just
change the tint to yellow for the Mind Stone.
Preset.
But
Drag and drop.
But I'm wondering too, though, if Wanda being manipulated or Wanda being in control of this, if Vision is the keystone that's holding all of this together. She created this reality for her and Vision so that she and Vision could carry on as a couple as she wanted it to be. And if he leaves that hex, then the whole thing falls apart. I mean, that's, they've got the video of her taking the body, the Vision's body, and bringing it to Westview. And now it's like he's holding it together, because when they said Dad's in trouble and he's out past I can't remember the name of the street, but he's out past the street. Ellis. Yeah. It was basically she had to grow the hex to keep Vision within the hex.
Right.
So that nothing would fall, so that the reality that they're in will not fall apart.
And she didn't just stop at Vision. And I don't know if she's in that much control or not, but she went all out and expanded it. It looked like in all directions, because it was catching up to wherever Wu and Monica were, and also it completely overtook the camp, which it'll be interested to see. We saw basically the interior of the camp and everything around it. They got turned into clowns, circus performers.
That's how she sees them.
Right.
Yeah.
And but if you go, but think about the one person out of that group. The one person, now you're using the old noggin, that's not, that we don't see what they become, is Darcy. We do not see what she becomes, and she's the closest one. So and we do see that when the next line of trucks and stuff behind her, they're kind of like the wagons on the outside of the tents that is the circus. So I'm thinking she's either, like, what is she going to be in this new reality?
Yeah,
maybe something different.
To a Jeep.
And she doesn't necessarily, her handcuffs could be gone. All different kinds of stuff happened. Like when the one guy came through, suddenly they're beezed, and it's just to fit him in. But it could also have something to do with like their different personalities, like who they are. It makes it easier if you're already like something you already are. So she could be something like, who knows, a fortune teller, like one of those fortune tellers at the, I don't know. I have no idea, but it would just be interesting to see.
Maybe next episode will be two broke girls. And then
I was going to say she could be a pair of broke girls. Yeah.
That would be ridiculous. What if they did that? She's working at the diner right before you. Yeah.
I think I'd be a little upset about that one.
Funny. Oh my gosh. It's meta. It's too meta.
The commercial, I think, is a part of all this too.
Ooh. Great call on that. Bringing that up. The commercial.
That was just creepy.
Yo Magic. Definitely that claymation style. And you think of those Go-Gurt commercials. It was absolutely spot on. Hey, dude, come on, eat this. It's gonna be great. But then twist, that kid never gets the yogurt open and withers away and dies in a very like Nightmare Before Christmas type turn, of events.
I think the
Magic. Oh, they called it like the snack for survivors.
Yeah.
Yes.
Magic is just dangerously close to like your magic. Like if you want to survive, you have to use your magic, and if you don't,
and that could be again the setup to we need to utilize her magic, but she needs to be using her magic for us to utilize it.
And I think it was also she can't get enough of a grasp on reality to save herself, because he couldn't grasp the thing to pull it open, and he starved to death. She can't get enough of a grasp of what the real world is to save her own self. And I think there's little elements there trying to pull her back in. Maybe that's Quicksilver's purpose, is he's the shark that's going to show up and, hey, it's going to be awesome. And she can't get enough of a reality grasp to not.
All the other commercials have been like just references to other parts of like her past. There was like Hydra, there was Von Strucker Watch or whatever. And so they've just been kind of references to kind of the overall situation, her past, without being directly about what's happening. So I don't know if it's that directly connected, but I think it does definitely have something to do with like her powers and the use of them. And well, first thing, she's never actually been able to save the people she loves. She couldn't save Pietro. She couldn't save Vision. She had to kill Vision, and then she couldn't save him. And now he's just gone. But now she has him back. That's part of this whole thing. Is like, and the only thing keeping him alive, ostensibly, is her magic. So
speaking of this situation, I have a request. So I don't have much context from the comics, but last week, I remember you guys talked about Mephisto and like how some of this fits into some storylines around that. Like, does this episode, we kind of brushed that over, but does this change that at all?
Well, it's like they've taken inspiration from it and some other things. Like her children are from, a couple different storylines. And she had them because they were like shards of Mephisto. And so it was through that. And then they end up dying. And that's what drives her insane. And that's what leads to her wiping out all the mutants, actually. It's like the House of M storyline. And so people are theorizing that because we're seeing this stuff happening, stuff with the children, they're going to, but this is the MCU and things are different. They're going to do a reverse of it where the effects of this kind of stuff will either be leading up to something that's going to cause a multiverse shift or a break or whatever that'll introduce mutants. And in that way, she'll be the mother of mutants. Or it'll do something that'll jumpstart the multiverse of madness in some way. And then that'll have more to do with it. But frankly, just having Pietro and using Evan Peters is more than I thought they were going to do in this show. Totally. So who knows?
Now, I did see something on that. If you look in one scene toward the front, he's got Evan Peters has his sleeves. They're just up. He's in his pajamas or whatever, and his arm. He's got a tattoo that says "Mom."
Yep.
And everybody was like, "Oh, multiverse of madness!" And you look at it, and you go, "No, the actor actually has a mom tattoo." So it's you're clever.
Wow, they're really committed.
And I was gonna say,
right.
it fits with the stereotyped freeloading uncle on a '90s sitcom thing where he's got some cheesy tattoo at some point. Which, no offense to Evan Peters, should he ever see this, if that's your real tattoo, bless you, it's awesome. But it fits with the character they're going with.
Look, we all have regrettable tattoos.
Yeah.
Now you had mentioned something about him about Quicksilver giving the kids a funny look when he talked at the camera, broke the fourth wall. That wasn't the only time. He did that several times throughout the episode, and in fact, there was a couple of times where he was looking at it like, "Are we supposed to be doing that?" Or
yeah,
I mean, there was a throw off there. You really had to watch him. He was very much a background character that was very important.
I spent my second viewing, actually, when I noticed that near the beginning of the episode, I tried to make sure to keep watching things that I wouldn't normally watch. Like, for instance, having gone to film school, understanding that kind of stuff, I know the techniques they use to make you concentrate on certain things because those are the important things in the scene. But that's also how they can disguise some of these background things. And so that's why I noticed him doing that stuff all the time. When other people are talking, if you're watching him's face instead of theirs, like he's always kind of like he's hearing information and hearing some of the stuff, and he's like, "That's interesting," or "That's weird," or like, is that the way things work? So it's in that way kind of lends credence to his like, "I'm just your brother, and you dragged me here, so I don't know what I'm doing here." But it also could be someone who knows more than they're letting on. Like he could be playing dumb and just trying to get her to do stuff and provoke her. Just like when the last thing that he says to her before she like goes full on is that, "Don't worry, sis, your dead husband can't die again." And she like blasts him because then that breaks the reality. If Vision's dead, then this whole thing is bull. And again, like you were saying, like, that will maybe that's a thing that will cause this whole reality to break apart. Maybe Vision's an incredibly important part of this whole, because again, without him, the sitcom family doesn't work.
This episode was like, you mentioned that you watched it again. I actually went and watched The Truman Show instead, because this episode was like The Truman Show for Vision. He's like discovering this isn't right, and he's like discovering that everything is kind of orchestrated, and then he gets to the edge and goes through.
That's a great point. That's a great comparison. And he pushes through to the outside. And that's interesting because it was interesting to find out that he didn't remember he was an Avenger. Like, he doesn't even know what the Avengers are. So he doesn't remember lots of the events of his life then. And it's not a hugely long life. Like,
Well, that pulls from the comic books too, because in the comics, when Hank Pym reanimates Vision, he's just a machine because the stone is gone, so it's a wiped hard drive essentially. So he has no idea of any of that, and over time he gets that back. What was weird to me about that whole scene there at the end, as he's leaving, as he's getting closer to the outskirts of town, the further away from Wanda and the center of town he gets, the weirder everybody is. They're barely moving. Not as much effort is put into keeping up the illusion the further away. So why? This was the part. Why was he still functioning as well as he was that far away from Wanda when everything else was just minimal power?
I think the longer that he's functioning, it seems like he's getting more and more control of his own, and he's finding also ways to keep her from stopping him. Like that, what the whole first act of the episode was kind of him creating the lie to get away from her, and she's kind of at this point also
like
acting
Truman
weirdly.
Show, just like the Truman Show.
Yes, when you create a lie so you can get away. Just like the Truman Show. Okay.
Well, also, she created, for this episode, for Halloween, she created so many more people she can't keep track. And can't keep control of everybody and exactly what everybody's doing.
And when she went to expand it, everyone stopped. So maybe it took her concentrating end power to just do that expansion. Or again, maybe that's just helping open the floodgates more. Like the more you use the power, the more comfortable you'll be with it. Eventually, the whole world will be Wanda's vision or whatever's actually pulling the strings. And then the whole universe, multiverse of madness,
see that, and because I found that interesting that she was so preoccupied with everything that was going around close to her, she didn't notice Vision was in trouble.
And also that was Pietro distracting her. The cutaways during that period, she's talking to Pietro, and their conversation is like scaring her, worrying her. That's when he's bringing up the ethical considerations. That's when she has to confront that she is the one doing this. And meanwhile, it's in the backdrop of like trying to stay normal for her kids, who are now walking and talking and have personalities. They're not just like before they were just kind of props, the babies or the very young child that can't actually do that much as far as like a sitcom is concerned, unless that's why you actually hire twins, but so they can play one kid so you can get around child labor laws. That's not what that's Mary-Kate and Ashley. That's what was Full House, the whole thing. So it's interesting to see her sister.
Her sisters were on Full House, right?
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that. What a good point.
I mean, speaking of sitcoms, and so and Pietro very much, he was introduced at the end of the last episode. I think someone even said it when we were talking about the last episode. They were just like, Uncle Jesse's here, so and that was essentially his character. Oh, cool guy. Oh yeah, look at me. I'm the guy. And he's doing a pretty good job as far as I can tell. Although, is he still alive? Is he going to be in the next episode? She blasted him. What does that mean?
I'm not sure she brought him in. And I think we discussed that a little bit on the last episode. Because on this episode, he kind of states his purpose. His purpose was to come in unexpectedly, create tension with the hubby, stir trouble with the kids, and ultimately give her grief.
Mhm.
I mean, he just flat out said that, and I don't know. My thought is that she didn't bring him in at all. Mephisto, or Nightmare, or a combination of both.
Or maybe her subconscious did it in some way. Like maybe this was actually her reaching out in a desperate attempt to help save herself, and the only thing she could do, she reached out. She already has her vision, so she reached out to the other person that she looked. But that, he's dead, so she made a new one, or pulled one over from another reality, or
Yeah, it seems to me like it's like my big question right now is she fighting against her own subconscious or some outside actor?
That's what we've been talking about. A lot of this is like
and
Hayward
Sword,
obviously
not
said,
Shield guy. Sword guy is acting all shifty now too. So
yes, people are wondering if he's actually an enemy. And something we haven't talked about yet is in this episode, the reason Darcy gets captured is because she goes to help Vision. The reason that she's there as opposed to with Agent Wu and Monica is because she said she wanted to finish hacking into his files. The only thing we get to see from what she finds is she says like, "Oh, Hayward, you sneaky bastard," and it's something called like Cataract Project Cataract. And as far as I know, there's not anything in
Wait,
Marvel.
that would be something that blocks your vision.
Boom.
Yes.
Okay. So you caught it very quickly, but yes, that's exactly the kind of thing. So, but we don't know what it is necessarily. But also, if you think about what cataracts are, and people that have cataracts, if you ever seen them, it's like gray film almost just over their eye. And it reminded me a lot of Vision when he's in zombie mode, and Quicksilver when he's in zombie mode. Now that covers their entire eye kind of, but does that have something to do? Was this, and if it's Project Cataract and they were working with Vision's body, right? So how long had Sword had his body? And if Vision didn't want his body to be reanimated under any circumstances, then what were they doing with it? So it raises a lot of questions on what's been going on with Sword. What's Hayward up to?
At least they learned their lesson when S.H.I.E.L.D. was taken over by bad guys, that they're not going to let it happen again. I'm glad to see that. That makes me feel good.
Well, I don't even know what's going on with S.H.I.E.L.D. because last I saw, Nick Fury was actually a Skrull. A shapeshifter impersonating him, and he's up in space somewhere. And it's just like, what's going on? Space stuff. I have no idea.
Secret Wars.
And so is any of that potentially, I'm guessing that'll come more into play in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Well, did you notice when Darcy pulled up the cataract file, who she searched for?
Who did she search for? I didn't actually.
If you watch what she's typing, she's looking at our agent friend, our wonderful X-Files buddy. She types his name in.
I thought she was emailing that to him.
May have been, but it
I think she emailed it to him after she found it. Is
that what it was? It was hard to tell if that was because the screen interface was odd. It almost looked like she was trying to search for files involving him.
No, I did actually watch that part, and so it's because it said at John Woo, so I think she sent it to him, and that's how those characters are going to find out about we're going to find out more about Project Cataract, what it is, when they get that information in the next episode. And again, now that the entire Sword Guys team has been taken out, I'm kind of expecting Monica to meet up with her secret friend, and then all of them to actually go back and try and work with Sword again. And they're going to be forced to either work with them because they're so limited on manpower now after what just happened, or things will get the split between them will get even wider, and we'll find out more of the truth about like what's actually going on there. But I think that Project Cataract is probably something that it said for his eyes only. Again, that's kind of a play on stuff, but Hayward's eyes only. So it's probably stuff he's not supposed to be doing.
See, I hadn't thought about it that way. When mentioned that they were tracking the decay signature of vibranium, it told me two things. Number one, that's the easiest thing for them to track that's in there, because everyone else would be a carbon-based human life form. You're looking for the odd man out. Vibranium's rare. So, okay, if I'm going to track something, that's the easiest thing. Metal detector looking for metal. But now that you say that, it makes more sense that they're trying to, and why they were interested in he was coming to the border. There was a thing from the last episode that I thought about, but we didn't get to, but I wondered if it played over right before we see Darcy look at the screen right at the end of the episode. And she says she recast Pietro's brother, or she recast Pietro.
Right.
They have alarms going off inside the base and everybody's running around. It's not addressed why. The only other time that that's happened that we've seen is when somebody is coming through the barrier. So was that Quicksilver entering the barrier and then suddenly there? Or what happened? Because it was just kind of in the background, but it was odd to me. They were all running around, and the only reason she wasn't at the screen was she was running around too, and then she just happens to look at the screen and see Pietro. So was all of that, we're asking the question, is he real? Whatever he is, we now know for sure Vision is real. We know Vision is physically there and animated. He's not a figment of the imagination.
They were running around because that was right when... No, maybe... Well, it was like... Wasn't that right around when Wanda had buffed up the walls and everything? Like when she turned all the guns on.
This is the very, very, very end after she had done that. They're having the conversation. Her and Vision are having the conversation in the living room. She answers the door, and we see Quicksilver, Evan Peters' Quicksilver, and then Darcy sees it at the very, very end, and all the alarms are going off.
I have to rewatch that.
It was just a quick thing, but I just wonder if that timed with Quicksilver just been running through the barrier.
Fluctuations. But if he ran through the barrier, then where did he come from? Because he's dead in this reality. That's the thing that's even crazier. So it's not him. And if it's someone that came from the outside, how did they either resist Wanda's control or manipulate it to such an extent that they can make themselves look like and also, if they were doing this, then why wouldn't they choose to look like the Quicksilver that she would recognize? If you could choose what face you're wearing, why on earth would you not choose the one that she would recognize? And that's what he says. She's like, why do you look different? He's like, well, I don't know. Like, what's going on? So these are valid questions. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know.
That's why I don't think it's Mephisto. I think it is the Evan Peters Quicksilver from the X-Men universe, because if it were Mephisto trying to really mess with her, it would be Pietro, not Peter. It would be her actual brother who would, because what would mess with her more than that?
But he does say, well, yes, but he also says things that kind of hint that he's not who he seems to be. So, and another thing is, I don't know how he looks in the comics necessarily. Maybe at one point he did look like that, but it looks like they almost gave him demon horns with his hairstyle in this. And at one point,
kind of look like that in the comics.
Yeah,
and I could see it because I know his hair does kind of go like that. So maybe it's just like the way he's standing. I'm like, but it works out in any case. But he also yells after the kids at one point, like. He calls him Demon Spawn.
Well,
he's like, unleash hell, Demon Spawn.
Yeah,
and it's just like
that's good.
And earlier in the episode,
Oh yeah.
Oh, look at that! Wow.
Earlier in the episode, he said, "Blood is thicker than water,"
which is one of the things. I hate it when people use that quote, unless he's doing it intentionally, because the actual quote is, "The blood of battle is thicker than the water of the womb." And so the quote itself is from Shakespeare, and it's about how my battle brothers are closer to me. The people I fight beside are closer to me than my very own family, or like the people that my brothers, my real. And so people use it all the time to say blood's thicker than water, man. And I'm like, yeah, but if that's not, you're arguing against your point there. If you're arguing for family, so that's one of the things that I'm like, why are you saying that?
Let's not lose track of the most important part of. That hopefully this is the X-Men Quicksilver that we all know and love, is it gets us that much closer to Deadpool in the MCU, okay? Which the Ryan Reynolds Deadpool specifically.
And that brings up a lot of questions like, will they actually have a different version of Quicksilver that ends up being, because if I'm Disney, I would do everything in my power to like recast all the mutants you can other than Deadpool, and if it was possible, Hugh Jackman. If you can get Hugh Jackman back for anything, you should do that, because it's just, you say that, I see David go no, but like
No
even
way.
just a
He's all
cameo,
wrong.
like
All wrong.
he's done. But I say they're going to probably recast everyone except Deadpool, and now maybe I don't know what they're going to do with this Quicksilver.
Kill him off.
I had a thought.
There's already
about
a zombie. Apparently, there's that. What's going on there? Like, she looked at him and he was like, "Zombie Quicksilver."
But okay, so here's a strange thought, and if we go back to where he's asking the questions, it's like he's trying to get her to realize what's happening. And I'm going to throw this theory out there again, and maybe I'm way off base here, but what if it's Doctor Strange, and Strange has entered the hex, and that is Strange trying to talk Wanda down from whatever reality she's created. And Strange had never met the real Pietro. He didn't know what he looked like. And if he just went in there and said, "Okay, I'm going to look like this, and I'm going to go to her house and say, 'Hey, I'm Pietro.'" Because I mean, like you said, oh yes, interesting. Oh yes, it was like he was taking orders from somebody. It was almost like he had the earpiece as well, saying, "Oh yeah, I need to ask her about that, or I need to do that." It's almost like he's in there and somebody's communicating with him and telling him, "Here's how you need to talk her down."
And that's even why he was like, "This is what I'm supposed to be doing." And in that way, it's like, so maybe he is just doing everything according to her script, and her script is starting to change because as she's starting to figure this stuff out for herself, she's subconsciously wanting to break free too. And that's the real question, is like, how much in control of this is Wanda? Because she wouldn't want to hurt people, but if she's mad or crazy with grief, who knows what she might have done. And that's why there's got to be somebody else pulling the strings, or who helped her out, or who pushed her into this, like, who told her where Vision's body was, or how did she know where that was? Like, take me there, because that's a question that I think could help us. What started this chain of events that led to where we are now?
How many episodes do we have left?
3.
7, 8,
Okay.
and 9.
Because I kind of like what they do. Like the whole structure of the show matches with the structure of a single episode, where it starts silly and fun and like reference humor, and then gets darker and weirder and more serious. Each episode kind of follows that arc, and the whole show does it too. Because like in the first couple episodes, there was barely any shades of reality at all.
Well, that was the thing, and we talked about this in one of the other episodes. And that's the format of this show, is that we had the first 3 episodes. It was entirely within the WandaVision, the reality, but the hex. It was entirely in there. Then we had the next episode entirely outside of there. And we talked about the shifting aspect ratios that they used, going from like a letterbox format from back in the day, tube TVs, to the cinematic aspect ratio we're used to today in cinemas for when we're outside the hex. And now they're doing that kind of stuff. And even now that we're in the 90s, it doesn't change that much because, their widescreen TVs are coming out. They don't have to go all the way back to that drastic. But you could still definitely see the change of when you're inside to when you're outside based upon like how things would appear on a TV screen from that era, which is pretty darn cool. And after that 4th episode, where it was entirely outside, then we started to see a back and forth. And what that means that they could be setting us up for, by the end of it, there is no more thing. So like we should have an answer to most of these questions.
So we can expect these last 3 episodes to be more. Yeah. Okay.
Busting full of answers.
And I've heard they're an hour long.
Oh, so only 35 minutes of intros and credits. that'd be great.
I will say it seems to have the longest credit sequence of any show.
It's
ever.
Unreal. I can't believe. And what was it, like 2 weeks ago, that it was basically, you had like the credits, and then it was a clip show of stuff you'd already seen. I couldn't believe
like last time. It's like, come on, you got to be kidding me.
You're burning time here. Quit showing me what I already seen.
I did see it's something that they kind of started with The Mandalorian, and it's to pad their run times when people talk about how long the episodes were, especially since with The Mandalorian, it was all over the place. The first episode was like, of the second season, was like 54 minutes. The second episode was like 37. The one after that was like 30. And then you'd have like, and then part of that was the 7 minutes or whatever of credits. And so you're like not actually even getting the times that they're suggesting. So I think they should, when they say the runtime, that really shouldn't include the credits. Who watches them? The only reason they're really important is for the people that worked on them, their careers. They can say, yes, I did actually work on this, and that's why you should hire me for something else. But for the most part, I'm not hiring people based off of their IMDb credits. I wish that was where I was in life right now, but so it's not. The average person doesn't need the credits.
I'm actually letting the credits run all the way to the end, just in case they sneak.
Just in case.
Just a 2-second thing. Open the window. There's Deadpool. Just anything in just somewhere.
I do a mouse run over, but I'm busy.
Yeah.
I got stuff to do.
I read an article, and I don't know if it was with a director or somebody who works on the show, but somebody made a comment about during the end credits, we see all the pretty stuff. There's a flower, a gazebo, butterflies, and whoever was doing the interview said, everything you see in the show is very important. And aren't they very pretty? So I'm like, I don't know. I mean, like I said, the first thing you see is the flower, which could represent the helicopter and the rose bush. Then you see
mind games in their interviews. Continue, Debbie. Continue.
Then you see the gazebo, which is where the magic show was. The butterflies. And I'm still thinking that has something to do with, I could be totally off base on this, Morgan Le Fay. Because that's her name, her nickname or whatever is Butterfly.
Interesting. And she's a big old
way to bring out the obscure there, Debbie.
Well, and the reason I say that is because Morgan is one of the few people who can snap people out of their, like what Wanda's in, a dream state or whatever. So I'm thinking maybe she could be brought in to, you know, help snap Wanda out of her daydream.
I'm sorry, Mephisto
That's good.
is in the chat.
That is the art. I'm trying to remember who it was. There's a big artist from a major game franchise that did that artwork of Evan Peters as Mephisto. Oh, I'm trying to remember who. I just saw something about it today.
That's
nice.
my favorite one.
Yeah, so am I, though. I mean, we don't.
It's the multiverse. In some reality, we all are.
I'm Mephisto. No, I'm Mephisto. Everyone's Spartacus.
It's the end of the world. God loves you. He's gonna kill you.
Look out. So we got Mephisto in the chat. That's wonderful. No spoilers, Mephisto. So, Debbie, I haven't read The House of M or those in like a really long time. I know he's responsible for like helping create Wanda's children. Does he also kill them?
He reabsorbs them.
Which is tantamount to them being reabsorbed.
Yeah, nice way of saying he eats them. Yeah, I think in the comics he does eat them. But I think he'll reabsorb them because they are pieces of his soul.
Now I kind of wish they hadn't let these kids talk and I hadn't formed an attachment to them. I'm like, I like this.
Close personal bond with them, yeah.
Yeah,
I would
and
say this is Disney and they wouldn't do that, but they executed Bambi's mom in the first 3 minutes of the movie. So this could go any way, you know?
And they keep showing
they
us
needed
like
that
the
for the
zombie
superhero arc.
version.
Yes.
They keep showing us the zombie version of things.
It kind of makes me wonder what zombie version we're going to get next, you know?
That's a valid question. And if they're more than just, is it just
is
stuff that she's
like
seeing, or
reality, or is that what she's afraid reality is? Because the fact that Vision like was able to get kind of outside, and he kind of uses Mind Stone like things, that seems like maybe that is replacing, I don't know, her reality and the external reality are kind of merging.
I don't know.
Closer.
I kind of lean to what and I think Debbie said it back in when we had the 70s episode, to where, what if everyone in there is dead? Because I mean, you got to think about it now. Vision's gone, Pietro's dead, and the kids, according to the comic books, the kids aren't dead. They've been reabsorbed. But regardless, what if everyone in there is dead and she has reanimated them in some way, shape, or form to fit her reality? And that's why it's causing so much pain for these people. Like when Vision snaps them out, it's like a oh my gosh, I'm not at rest now, and I'm somewhere where I shouldn't be.
I was interested in that theory until we had the episode where the agents were there and they kind of started identifying everyone in the town. That makes me feel that it's more that these people are trapped there, and it's just the people that maybe really don't belong there, that potentially, other than that one person witness protection, everyone else is like in the town. And so the only people that don't belong there are like Wanda, Vision, Pietro. So like anyone that doesn't actually belong in that town, other than the witness protection person, could potentially be dead. But I don't think everyone is, and that's like why they're feeling pain, is because they're trapped, and it's psychological and possibly even actual pain and torture, like the people that are forced to repeat stuff because they're just on autopilot or whatever.
But she won't bring the dog back.
Yeah, that was
wanted her
an
to use
interesting. That was an interesting point I think she was trying to make for her kids, and it's also like the argument that she's having with herself. If she's trying to instill in them, like, 'cause she's raising her kids, right? That's part of this, and she's trying to teach them that, like, oh, you can't just do that. That's not something you're allowed to do. Then it's like, are you being hypocritical by what you're doing right now? And that's causing conflict in her. And coincidentally, that's when her brother shows up.
You know, that's just real life parenting right there.
I was gonna say,
when you give advice,
Do as I say, not as I do.
you hear your father and your mother's voice come through you in a magical megaphone as you're talking to your children and giving them instruction. You go, "Oh crap!
I have
Or you
become
got
that which I swore to destroy. I'm
Yeah,
just
you
trying to
see
destroy
the-
your parents.
Why did I turn the lights out when I left that room? It's an LED bulb. It can run for 1,000 years on the power that my old bulb. But I can hear my dad in my head telling me to shut it off. So
Yep, don't touch the thermostat."
Leaving lights on. What do you think we are, rich? Is that what rich people do? They leave lights
Close
on?
the
It's like,
door.
I've made
Right?
it. Leave them
Leave
on.
we wouldn't know.
Agnes said something that was telling. After Vision zapped her back, after her freak out moment, when she goes back to town version, she says, "Took a wrong turn, got lost. No one leaves, all is lost."
Well, she also says Wanda won't even let us think about it. About
So
leaving town.
And she literally said, "We're all dead. Aren't we all dead? Dead, 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 dead." Yeah. Okay, that's
Yeah.
enough out of you.
Because because you are, and that's again after she's been released from the control. But you know, we've had questions about her too, because she's someone else that seems more aware of what's going on in the town than all the other townspeople, except perhaps her. We don't know what's going on with them.
Kind of like the guy who is I don't names, but the guy who was on the earpiece. who
That's
was saying,
Herb,
Wait,
yeah.
do you want something? Herb. Okay, so you want something changed? Like Agnes kind of seemed on the same level there. So
Yeah,
do
she
you
was-
guys put them on the same plane of maybe people who kind of know what's going on versus the guy in the office who was clearly like zapped out of it and was like, "Oh my god, I'm."
Yeah, he's like a pure victim, like
Yeah.
the people that are hanging sheets. But yeah, Herb is definitely someone, and maybe it's because he's more involved in their life, so it's necessary for him to be activated more. But also Agatha was like that, or Agnes was aware of this stuff and doing this kind of stuff before anyone else.
Right.
Before Vision even had a chance, like in some of the first episodes, she's aware of what's the situation is. And even in the 70s episode, she says, like, you want to take that again, and causes this disruption. And so that makes me wonder, like, what she's not. Again, yeah, I agree. I think they're kind of on another tier of people that might. Something's funky going on there with those two.
Did you notice she did not have her brooch?
And she got lost. Yeah, that's interesting.
Kind of freaked out because she was like, where's my brooch? Well, that's what my impression was like she was, where's my brooch?
Looking for it.
And
I didn't notice she was ever wearing one, so now I gotta rewatch all 6 episodes.
Yeah, she has it on.
Got to. I
mean, that's a signature of Agatha.
Yeah.
If you read the comics, she's always got that brooch. I'm not sure of the significance. I've read different theories, but yeah, she always has the brooch on, and she didn't have it on this episode.
And we didn't see any interaction between her and Pietro that I can think of. I don't even think they met.
No,
she was gone. So. And so that's another interesting thing, because she's the one in previous episodes who's been able to like talk to Wanda, discuss things, who Wanda's been able to talk to, ask questions. And now Pietro is filling that role. And so did the fact that she's so focused on Pietro, I think that's why some of those other things start going wrong. She's so focused on Pietro and her kids that Vision's able to get away and she's not able to focus on him. She's so focused on Pietro and like figuring out what's going on there that Agnes goes off script and is not under her control and starts trying to leave possibly. She says she got lost, but she's sitting at the border of the thing.
She was sitting there in the car. She was ready to go. It was like she was like, okay, do I want to push the gas? Can I push the gas?
And then when she's brought, when Vision taps her head, she then says, we're not even allowed to think about it. How does she, like, she's aware of herself under Wanda's control. That's another very interesting thing that, like, the other guy, he was just panicked. He said, she's controlling, it's her, da-da-da-da. Agnes was just kind of like, whoa, what? We can't leave. Like, she's aware of slightly what's going on.
I don't know. She was just acting so weird, and I don't know. Like you said, I don't know if she was. I don't think she was playing dumb, but I don't know. It was just off because she was just sitting there acting paralyzed, like some of the other residents were that were on the outer edge of the perimeter, and I don't know. It was just like she, Vision touched her and, it seemed like she was herself. But then when he touched her again, she was back to the, perky neighbor.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Happy Halloweeny, I mean, she wasn't even like that.
Try turning it off and turning it on again.
She rebooted.
Yeah.
It was
she was trying to escape?
Yeah.
Like, you think she was trying to actually get out, escape, but try to do something? Or if she really, things are just getting nuts and Wanda's losing control and this person was driving out to the edge of town for no reason or just because of confusion?
I think she was trying to get out, and that's why she was sitting there but she was debating with herself. She was fighting with herself as to, can she get out?
Or
that's right.
Am I going to be stopped?
Debate?
If she tries to get out, is she going to die?
Yeah. Or is she dead already? And if she leaves, then that death becomes part of her reality. If she stays here, like with Vision, she said, if I'm dead, then I leave here, then I'm dead again. If I just stay here, though, I'm alive and I'm happy and I can just carry on.
Which, dear viewers, I think they established for us that when you leave the Hex, you get to keep all the stuff that you were given. Right. They kind of suggested that once or twice.
The clothes that she was wearing when she got ejected, they tested it and they said, this dress or whatever is like 90% Kevlar. And so when you go in, things are reorganized to fit that reality, but some things are it's not like the essence of the fabric was changed. It was just its layout to fit everything. So there is a question of like those kind of effects. Also the effects it has on people's minds. We know that Wanda like takes control, but some people are able to break through, and Monica was able to ask some questions. She asked about Ultron. Now, is that because she has Captain Marvel powers? Or is that because she's strong-willed? Or is that because she wasn't actually supposed to be in there in the first place, and that gives her more control than other people?
See, I'm wondering too now because and this hasn't been brought up yet, and I'm probably going to open a whole new can of worms with this one. Woo! But they mentioned hang on a minute. Am I trying to thought catch up? Monica, they looked at her scans again.
Right.
And and there was that whole bit about, you've got everything wrong with you, and if you go in again, it could kill you. So
and she says, I don't care.
Right. So again, is that leading up to Monica getting her
and is that
photon?
Even because of photon powers? And is that even because of what's happening with the Hex, or is that from other stuff? Because has there been other times when she's been exposed to like superpowered stuff? She used to hang out with Captain Marvel all the time.
Yeah, Captain Marvel. Well, they were they were flying. Yeah, they were flying the jet, and oh gosh, it's been so long since I've seen that movie. But weren't they flying the jet, and they came across something that caused them to crash? Or I don't remember.
Well, I actually just recently rewatched that. So Monica Rambeau was a kid in the Captain Marvel movie. She was the kid. Right. It was her mom that was the fighter pilot. I've read theories that the problem because she called her Aunt Carol. There was in the Captain Marvel movie. There's a close relationship between the two. I have read it theorized that there is a romantic relationship between them gone sour, and that's why we have a troubled past alluded at by what's his face? Hayward. Yeah, that's what that is. So I mean, she's been around somebody with superpowers, but the only person who ever seemed affected by that was Carol. Nobody else around her. It wasn't like what they tried to do with Watchmen, saying that he was putting off radiation and causing cancer and issues with people. This is more of, I think that was, the Infinity Stone directly giving her powers, and that was it.
Okay. Did the guy who went in and became like the beekeeper suit, did he ever come out? Do we ever see him again?
I don't think so. I don't think he's been seen again.
That was one of the other questions I had. I was like, what happened to that guy? Because I was going to say Monica's not the only person that's actually crossed into there. Potentially, we don't know how Quicksilver got there or whatever. So that's potentially another one. But the guy in the bee suit, will also be affected if it's affecting. Oh, he only went through one, so he only gets half weird superpowers for some reason.
She blipped him out. She changed reality after seeing him.
So you think he's dead?
I think she's capable, maybe inadvertently. Maybe it works like they do in an obscure 90s reference now, the third Ninja Turtles movie, where he swapped places with Quicksilver because it was an equal mass displacement. So she blipped him out and
be holding the Quicksilver.
We figured it out, ladies and gentlemen, based off of our research into the third Ninja Turtles movie.
That's
We
probably
got
what
it.
happened.
Mm-hmm.
Equal mass
Spoiler alert.
displacement. That's it.
Makes perfect sense. It's all
Are you kidding me? This baby is off the charts. Why?
Oh, a sarcasm detector. Oh, that's a really useful invention.
We figured it out.
I have a question. I don't know if anybody else noticed. During the Halloween chaos that the kids and Pietro were creating, did you guys notice the very creepy guy in like a hook nose costume standing right behind Wanda and just staring at her?
No.
I had to go back and watch it 3 times because at first I thought, well, maybe it was a Halloween prop or something. But if you look at the legs, those are human legs. And he's standing there.
Is that when Herb is talking to her? Is that one you're talking about?
No, this is where the silly string and the candy.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I guess it would be. Yeah, it was just a different angle, I think. But yeah, it was just kind of creepy. And I could be looking into it more than what it is, but it was just weird.
Isn't that the whole point of this stream?
You're doing the right thing.
This is why we love having you on here, Debbie, is because the rest of us are watching Wanda. And you're like, oh, notice the brooch that's missing, and everybody else is background of the film.
I watch it 3 or 4 times, and I take notes, and then I take notes again, and take notes again, and do a little research. And
okay, let's see here. I've got the clip up, and I'm just trying to look. Is he in focus?
Yes, he's standing. As she's looking at us, it would be to her right.
Huh.
He's in like a black cape. And he's got some kind of mask that, I don't know, some kind of weird nose.
Okay.
It's Deadpool.
I think it looked to me like just the person in the costume because they're not there that long and all the people are dressed up. But I'm going to have to go take another look at that.
Yeah, he doesn't react to anything. And he just stands there and he is just directly looking at her.
Oh, now, yep, I see him.
Like a plague doctor.
Okay, see if this shows up.
Oh.
Yes, him. Yes.
I hope we don't get struck by.
All I can see is Wanda's amazing Spirit Halloween costume, which for some reason I like a lot more than any of the.
But most
I was so excited to see the original costumes, and
yeah,
Paul Bettany. I mean,
chili con carne.
He's the best.
He's loving life. Well, he thought when they called him for this show, he thought that was the call to fire him because he's like, Vision's dead. So what's gonna happen? And then he's like, oh, crazy, I'm back. Very cool. I'm glad that he's back. And I kind of hope that this isn't the end for him. I know there's possibilities and stuff, but it's not looking great.
No.
I have a question, and it's probably just rumor, but what year was Doctor Strange originally supposed to come out, the second movie?
Next year, 2022.
Next year, because I thought I seen something about season 2.
Season 2 of WandaVision? I haven't heard that. I thought it was a singular event.
That's what I thought too, but
I thought all these Marvel ones were just going to be miniseries, just a one-shot deal.
I didn't think they all were.
Oh, that's what I missed those Marvel one-shots. Those were fun.
Well, it hasn't been announced as of yet, so. But I don't
Right now, it's rumors and speculation, and we'll leave it as such.
Well, I was just kind of hoping for a second season because it's such a long time from when this ends until Doctor Strange comes on. So
I mean, we don't.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you're getting Falcon and Winter Soldier, and you're getting Loki. So it's not that there won't be things coming out. It's just that they're not doing it like how the CW does. 8 seasons of Arrow, and just
I love
floods the
Arrow.
market. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but this is not that style.
Well,
it's
I
not
know
that format.
I know Loki's connected with.
Oh, they're
that.
all. So
No, I
it's
don't
Marvel
think
Cinematic Universe.
I don't think Falcon will be involved with this Doctor Strange multiverse thing, but
I just meant the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh,
It's
gotcha.
connected.
Right.
It might not deal specifically with the Multiverse of Madness stuff, but we'll see. I'm thinking it'll have some sort of maybe a different angle of it. Like this is the entire like WandaVision side of things, and then we'll see like what they're doing over there, and then we'll see what Loki's doing, and how all of these 3 separate things are actually kind of heading towards that movie. And of course in ways that don't make it essential. Like it's not essential that you watch Iron Man 2 if you're going to watch a Captain America movie. They're just related. So in that way, it's like you might recognize stuff in that movie if you've been watching all the other stuff. They're very good at those types of payoffs.
What if go ahead.
David. Okay,
I was going to say.
Okay, real quick. Just a small. That's what I really like about these is that you don't have to know everything about everything, but it does pay off if you know a little bit more here and there.
Oh yeah, and they love dropping those hints in, like, and that's why we have shows like this that exist where we get together. We're like, "Did you see this? Rewind it, okay?" Because there's hints.
Well, come up with theories, and they may
they're
not be right, but
Paul Bettany was saying, he's reading all the fan theories and all this different stuff, and he's like, some of you should be writers for Marvel. And I don't know if that's because the theories he's reading are better than what they actually did, or because people absolutely nailed it, which I could see. There's nothing wrong with it's not to say that the story is predictable if someone guessed your theory. It's just this is what to me could possibly happen and would be awesome if it did. It's not like you guessed it. Oh, you've ruined the show. We don't know for sure.
I think one of the hardest things in writing is taking something that's beloved by a lot of people and writing a new story in such a way that if you're brand new to it, or if it would normally be your thing, you can get into it too. And that was a big criticism, and not to get into it here at all, but that was one of the big criticisms of the new Star Wars movies. That's been a big criticism of a lot of the Marvel movies. It's been I don't know anything about Captain Marvel. Well, you don't have to know anything about Captain Marvel. You don't have to know anything about any of the other movies to enjoy Captain Marvel for what it is. So Marvel has an excellent team with Kevin Feige overseeing all of the details, which I think is another reason that they have the success they do, is you have somebody who is passionate about Marvel overseeing the final details on all of the projects. So you kind of have this continuity going on from a writing standpoint. It's like, reading 100 books by one person, and then suddenly there's a new author. Stimmerillion. Sorry. But it's a very difficult thing, I think, to write something that appeals both to the fan base and to the broader audience. And I think they've done that. I think from a writer's perspective, WandaVision has done that. And yeah, it does help to know who Maximov is, and it does help to know who Vision is. But even if not, you're just really that much more confused in the first couple episodes than the rest of us are. But that's okay, because the payoff is all still there. I think they've pulled that off with this.
Yep, and it helps that they had tons of nostalgia bait all over the place.
Yes.
It's a gimmick. When I saw the show was coming out, I was like, wow, that is pure member berries. But it's not pure member berries, because they are mixing in new stuff. There is, they're telling a new story. And yes, is it nostalgia? Is it, but also it's not. It works in the way, like, so far, the progression of it, which also just allows them to use that much more nostalgia. But, oh, you missed like the 50s. Here you go. Oh, you missed the 60s. Here. Oh, you missed the 70s. Like, here's an episode for you. Oh, you watch TV from several of these different things. You're going to like a lot of this stuff. And then for the people who were complaining, because again, the first 3 episodes were just old sitcoms, and you had MCU fans who were like, the show's boring and terrible and it just sucks. And then you had other people going like, I don't think you understand television as compared to like, or a mini series as compared to like an MCU movie. And we talked about this in other episodes, but again, the full story being told here is you are not going to know until the last episode. So it's not like you can just watch the first episode and get, oh, I just got a whole story there. It's like you got a part, you got a piece, you got a taste. But now we're in
chapter 1.
Yeah. You got to get to the end.
And I love how we get to relive a little bit of the nostalgia too in the real world of we have to wait a week for the next episode. They didn't just release them all at once and say, here, binge watch.
That's not just a meta tactic that they're using to call you back to those TV days. It's by design, we're releasing these one at a time so that this takes 3 months for you to watch in totality, and you'll have 3 months of subscription there. And then the next one will come, and then the next one will come out, also taking 3 months, and then the next one, so that we keep you subscribed to our Disney Plus service. That is very much on purpose. They could release it at once. They could.
Oh yeah.
It's not like they're filming it. It's like, we got to get this week's episode done. No. It's done.
Yeah.
It's great marketing because when you release it week by week, even though I hate that format, but
we get to do stuff like this.
Yeah, it gives time for people to talk, come up with their theories, or
agonize.
I
personally want to sit here and agonize over everything for another hour or so, but I'm going to do that on my own time. We have been going for an hour and 20 minutes, so we're going to be wrapping it up soon. Does anyone have anything else they really want to talk about before we start wrapping it up? Anything about this episode, or things possibly coming up, a theory you want to drop, or a expectation you think for the next episode?
I'm still going with my theory that it's Mephisto / Nightmare, either separate working together or all one person.
To add some credence to that, and I read somebody else's theories on this. Nightmare, the word nightmare was said at least twice in this past episode, at least twice, if not more. So they were looking at it going, well, that's a word that's not used all the time, and now it's used like 2 or 3 times within one episode. Is that giving us a clue?
And it's, the powers of these characters coming into play could help create the situation that we're in right now. And when we're saying, like, is it all just Wanda? And even if it is, maybe it's someone else influencing her to make this stuff happen, or influencing the hex itself. And like Monica said in the episode, we don't know the full story. We still don't. So definitely, I'm hoping that you're both right, and we get to see some of these villains come into play that we haven't seen at all. These are all like in the MCU at least.
So I just looked up. This is the theory. Well, I shouldn't say theory, but Quicksilver says, "Hey, if I had found Shangri-La, I'd want to stay here too." I looked up Shangri-La in reference to Marvel. It came back with a hit.
Oh, and
it ties in.
Isn't that where the Iron Fist trained or something?
Accounts suggest that this is out of the Marvel database. Accounts suggest that Shangri-La was founded by the Vision, who presided over its people as their ruler. He discovered the secrets of death and life, gave himself immortality, and pledged to protect mankind and to keep the secret hidden in Shangri-La, becoming the defender of the pillow of life and death.
The pillow?
The pillow of life and death, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I need a pillow of life and death.
The comics. So yes, that is a big and people are wondering, is that a reference to that? And if so, is that something that's going to be happening? I was saying earlier, I'd like to see more Vision because there's stuff that they could do. And that's one of the ways that he could potentially, again, return or become Hypervision, or more than just Vision. Right now, I guess he's kind of like WandaVision.
Hey, that's the name of the show.
How about that?
I get it.
Roll credits.
Well,
And then-
like I said in the beginning, it's mostly House of M, possibly reversed, but I think there's other storylines that they're bringing in and mixing up, and I mean, because we can't figure out what the hell they're doing. And there's just so many Easter eggs and elements that are coming through from other storylines that I don't think it's strictly House of M. I think it's some other storylines that they're throwing together.
Well, it's like Iron Man. Iron Man 2 was basically the Demon in a Bottle series. I mean, it wasn't exactly the way it was. It really just took elements from it. Ragnarok was Planet Hulk. I mean, it wasn't exactly Planet Hulk, but it took elements from it to tie it in.
Inspired by.
Right. And House of M is one of these ones that's looking like to where it isn't exactly the House of M, but it inspired it and it's pushing some of the elements along.
Which is heading us towards, again, the Multiverse of Madness. And I think I might even have a sneak peek of the Multiverse of Madness.
My God, is it possible? It must be possible. It's happening. By the way, what's happening?
So that's, again, Multiverse of Madness, the Doctor Strange movie. Can't wait. That's what I'm busting with excitement for that, because I just remember the first one. That one was all kinds of crazy, and that was just about him getting his power. This one's deliberately titled Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which is set to feature Wanda. She's in it, and it's supposed to be like a scary movie, I've heard, or like horror.
Yeah.
Inspired.
I think it's going to be an Avengers film.
Almost nightmarish.
And they said there's going to be vampires and werewolves, introducing Blade. There's going to be, people have said all kinds of stuff. Now, and then that's the point where you get from just rumor to insanity, when you've got people like, they cast Tom Cruise as an alternate Iron Man. All of the Spider-Men are coming back. All of them, even the animated ones. And it's like, oh my gosh, did you hear? Oh, it's crazy. No, it's
look,
like,
I want to see a live action Spider Pig. Okay,
Tim Allen's returning to the MCU to the role of Santa Claus.
The wind blows, and the wind smells like rain. All right, I'm gonna go watch Spider-Verse now, I think.
I mean, if the movie that I just described was,
Shut up and take my money.
I'm not saying I wouldn't be there. I'm not saying it's not a great, but I just don't think it's actually happening. Very difficult to pull off. Anyway, I think that's it for this episode. We'll be back next Monday to talk about this coming week's episode. I'm very excited. Obviously, we're at the climactic point here, where everything is coming together. I'm thinking next episode we're going to meet this mystery astrophysicist or whoever the heck Monica has been talking about, and that's going to jumpstart some stuff on how they're actually going to deal with this problem, which as of yet they haven't been able to do anything. They've been completely useless on containing this. So maybe we'll get more information on Hayward, what's going on there, and maybe we'll find out a little bit more about how this all started. We're 6 episodes in and we're still unclear about why this is happening and what exactly happened. So answers, we want them, and when we get them, we're going to talk about them and agonize over them.
Yes, we are.
Iron Fist is Kunlun or Kunlun. I forget. Yeah, I was like Shangri-La. Nope, that's not Iron Fist. Oh, look, Mephisto came back.
He has been all over the chat all night.
Did you pay attention to the? We talked about the Yo Magic commercial for Spider Pig.
For the win! Yes!
Congratulations. Okay. Yep. Taunting Vision or taunting Wanda. It's not like your dead husband can die twice, which is funny because he died twice in that movie. You know, like, so he's already done that. He almost died again in that. You could say that he died, but was recovered. So this dude, no wonder he gets control over death. He's already done it like 4 times. He's had a lot of practice. It's exciting stuff. Wanda is losing her mind with grief. Reminiscent of the House of M story. Yep. And that's basically what we were talking about. And again, how they're bringing some of these different things together that they haven't been able to pull from the X-Men comics and whatnot, obviously because they didn't own Fox and the X-Men. So I say bring on more of that stuff. Again, the astrophysicist guy, Monica's friend, we're hoping that that's another pull from this well that they now have access to. I'd be down for some sort of Fantastic Four Easter eggs or, anything else. Even if it's just like a hint. I'll see it, and obviously we'll talk about it. So thank you for joining us. This was an excellent episode, not just of WandaVision, but of this show. I have more fun, it seems like, every week. So, and we got totally meta because we had my brother here. So the brother on the episode.
Now, is it your real brother, or did you recast him for the purpose of this episode?
Pulling out all the stops.
Whoa, who beefed in your borscht?
It'd be great if we had the technology to turn you into a zombie for a split second. But we don't, so we're just going to end it with
He's like looking through this.